Investigating the 4 C's of journalism. Remember, there's correct, concise, and creative. These are your responsibilities for communicating a message as a journalist. Check out these sentences and see what you think they need. My grandmother, a woman who is all about health, likes to eat banana bruises. This one-of-a-kind token is on sale. Have you heard about the new sales tax? I was driving down Bexar Bear on my way to Hawaii, but I got lost at the ocean. Trevor said I don't like tomatoes, but I don't understand why. Hopefully you noticed that it's punctuation that's incorrect in those statements. Everybody's familiar with a period. It marks the end of a sentence, usually the end of a complete sentence, a complete thought. A question mark is questioning. It has rising inflection and it's the end of a statement of inquiry. A comma is a slight pause and only a partial thought. Colon is my favorite punctuation. I see it as the ta-da punctuation because right after a colon is the ta-da extra information. In the example there are a few things I like about Texas. Ta-da! Weather, howdies, and pie. You can see I put howdies wrong. Howdies is not supposed to have an apostrophe. That may confuse people when they're reading. Howdy is? Really? Another example, one thing that bothers me about Greg, ta-da, the attitude. So that's really what a colon should mean. With hyphens, they help words that sound like they should be going together. They help smooth them out. Part-time job, run-of-the-mill, 27. Double dash is when there's an abrupt stop in the sentence, or when you stop in the middle of a sentence to explain kind of the thought that you're having in the sentence. An ellipses is a trail off. It's where you're pausing for thought, you want to think, you want to leave a little dramatic pause but not have it abrupt. Parentheses in broadcast usually are what explains how to pronounce something or how to say something. And usually you don't read what's in parentheses out loud. You read that to yourself and use that as a reference. So looking back at these sentences, it would be better to say, my grandmother, comma, a woman who is all about health, comma, likes to eat banana bruises. Helps break up the sentence, because a woman who is all about health explains my grandmother. This one-of-a-kind token could use some dashes, one of a kind, that way it flows. And people don't say this one of a kind, it sounds too choppy. Have you heard about the new sales tax? Usually when a sentence starts with have, it is a question. But sometimes people could say it as a statement, maybe of sarcasm, or to point out that you should have heard about the new sales tax, but it's good to put a question mark with a question so people don't get confused. I was driving down Bexar Bear. This is actually not Bexar Bear. It's bear, and it's pronounced bear. It's French, really. But if you put these in parentheses instead of a dash, then people will know Bexar is pronounced bear. On my way to Hawaii, but I got lost at the ocean. This sounds kind of funny, like they're reflecting about their way to Hawaii. Maybe a comma would make more sense there. Trevor said I don't like tomatoes, but I don't understand why. Here we could use some quotations, because did Trevor say the speaker doesn't like tomatoes, and then the speaker doesn't understand why? Or did Trevor say, quote, I don't like tomatoes, but I don't understand why. So Trevor doesn't like tomatoes and he doesn't understand why. Or did Trevor say he doesn't like tomatoes and the speaker doesn't understand why Trevor said that? So many options. We just need the right.
Douglas, will you please pass the catsup? What? The catsup? You mean the ketchup? Educated people pronounce it catsup. How don't they want me to pass it to them? Fine, if that's the way you're going to be, then I'll do without. Not going to happen, old man. My burger's getting cold. Just give me the ketchup. Okay, it's called ketchup. Say it right and you can have it. No. Say it. Say it. No, I will never say it. I'd rather die than say it. But you're staying over here. talking about ketchup. Fine. Then just say goodbye to these. Why you gotta do that? You want the cats? We can have the cats up here. God. Thank you. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Oh, is that enough? Yes, that's enough. That's enough. And say it. Say it. Say it. What? Say it. Hey, what? What's it called? Ketchup. And that's how we learn.
I showed you that clip to illustrate how irritating it can be when people refuse to say things the way that you feel that they should be said. And it's a good transition into the numbers section of our lesson. You know that part of our target audience is teachers, especially in the Mesquite Independent School District. And among teachers, we have math teachers. So math teachers are particularly interested in how numbers are pronounced and stated. First of all, just to be clear, for the ear, you have to round them when possible. If it doesn't matter the exact number, say nearly 127,000 instead of 126,748, or just above 1,700, or about 6,300, or more than 410,000. Then we get to 0 versus O. There is a difference between the number and the letter, and most people know that. And you can see it on the keyboard that you can press both a 0 and an O. Same for a phone now. You can type both a 0 or an O. So for web addresses and phone numbers, it's important that you say the number when you mean the number and only say the letter when you mean the letter. Even dictionary.com doesn't highlight O as one of the proper pronunciations of 0. It only says 0. They aren't interchangeable either. While some people say O when they mean 0, you would never say 0 when you mean O. You'd never say 0. I've never heard of that. Let's see. We have this picture of sheep to illustrate the problem with having and in numbers. 126 sheep were herded into a meadow. The 6 sheep died. How many were left? Well, that depends on what you heard and what I really said. I said 126 sheep. Did that mean 126 sheep and I didn't tell you how many were sick? Or did that mean 120 of them were sick sheep? That's the confusion that and could have in numbers when it's not supposed to be there. Another thing is 6 sheep. As you can tell, it's hard to tell whether I'm saying 6 sheep or sick sheep. So you have to watch out for words like that blend together and state them clearly. I would not say, I was born in 1986. So why would people say 2007? 1986 is a proper way to say it, and 2007 is a proper way to say it. It's also part of the rules of a journalist for being concise. There's no reason to have that extra word if you aren't going to use it. The final reasoning on this point is actually in math class, because in math class and means something. It's a decimal point, 12 and 3/10. So when you put and there and it doesn't express anything, it causes confusion, and we don't want to do that as journalists. Then we come to writing numbers, and it matters how you put them in a script because it's hard to read sometimes. Here this says 96K young daring children. It means 96,000, but do many people know that symbol to mean thousand? It's better to put 96 and type the thousand. Here we have 3,985,742 people from my hometown eat pork rinds. Again, it's best to round. Just under 4 million people from my hometown eat pork rinds. If anybody sees a big chunky number like this in a script, they're going to have to pause and hesitate and sort it out in their head before they can read that. So it's your job as the writer to type it that way so they have it clear. At 11:42 a.m. on Saturday, I sang my first karaoke song. Remember, no AM or PM. Carole King is one of my favorite artists. One is awkward just in a sentence. That's why we have you put the ones through tens as spelling them out. My boyfriend is 5 apostrophe. His uncle is 4 apostrophe apostrophe 3 apostrophe. These, one of them means inches, one of them means feet. I can't ever remember which, and it's confusing to put it. So you should put 5 and then spell out feet. I'd be pleased if I was 9 lbs lighter. Unless you want the reader to say lbs, you should spell out pounds. How about this? Super Bowl XLV III is coming up. Makes a cool symbol, but we don't read in Roman numerals, so it's hard for a reader to translate that. Spell it out how it should be said. This can be read as a ratio, but it's a lot easier if you type 6 and then type out of 100 Americans prefer. So remember, do the translating for your reader. If you want to earn big bucks on 091409, call 972-358-5650. Remember to pair 2 numbers at the end of a phone number if you can, and you need dashes. It also helps if instead of 09 you spell out sept or September. So people like me who get August and September confused will have a little hint there. So getting into writing numbers, 1 through 11 best written as words. People can easily read them and they're short. 12 through 999 can be written as numerals. Suffixes like 12th, 20th are good, but remember when you're recording those, you pronounce the TH. Combine words and numbers for anything larger than 1,000, so 126,748. That way I don't get confused about where the comma is. Is this millions, thousands? What is it? Write the word for symbols like dollars, pounds, and feet. Fractions and decimals write as words, so if you want this said as 1.7, spell out 1, the word point, and 7, or 1 and 7/10. With 3/8, the same thing, 3/8. Use hyphens to separate dates, street addresses, and telephone numbers, just like people normally do, and group the last 2 if possible. Remember, no zeros. No O's. So 972-882-7590. Not 972-882-7590 or 7590, because that gives the listeners 4 numbers to remember when you could just have them remembering 2. Same here, 214-965-2205. Since we could group the 22 together, we did. We can't group the 5 because we can't say 22-5 and people are supposed to just guess that there's a 0 in there. And we have AM and PM, which should not be stated on KEOM. I'm not real sure on the reasoning, but I think mainly it's because it gets old. Another reason could be if they couldn't clearly hear the difference between the A and the P. Since the M's just the same, it doesn't give them enough information. So how do you say it? In the morning, in the evening, at night? 12 o'clock is confusing too. You shouldn't ever say 12 a.m. or 12 p.m. because since 12 p.m., noon, comes right after 11:59 a.m., people will get confused and will be unsure of which time you're referring to. So I think that's enough to focus on right now. You have a few exercises to practice this information, and we'll go to our final clip for being clear, correct, concise, and creative soon.